The Great Assembly Chamber had never been so quiet. 5,000 alien delegates from across the galaxy sat in perfect silence. Their many eyes, tentacles, and sensor organs all focused on one small group near the center of the massive room. Admiral Sarah Chun stood at the human delegation table. Her dark blue uniform looked plain next to the bright robes and shining armor worn by the other species. She was not tall like the bird-like Zephyrians or wide like the rock creatures from Granite Prime. She looked ordinary. But every being in the chamber watched her with growing fear. "The vote is final," announced Supreme Chancellor Morduk from his floating platform high above. His voice echoed through the chamber from 1,000 speakers. 847 votes in favor. 1 vote against. The sanctions on human space are approved. The Chancellor's forearms spread wide as he spoke. His pale green skin glowed with satisfaction. For too long, the humans had been growing bold. They questioned decisions. They asked for equal treatment. They demanded respect. Today, the Galaxy Council would remind them of their place. Admiral Chun did not sit down. She did not protest. She did not ask to speak again. Instead, she reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. With one quick motion, she pressed a button. All across the chamber, holographic displays began to flicker. These displays showed the locations of every human colony, every human trade route, every human research station. There were hundreds of them scattered across 14 star systems. For 2 centuries, these glowing dots had been part of the galaxy's foundation. One by one, the dots began to go dark. "What is happening?" asked Ambassador Kethver of the Zephyrian Federation. His feathered head turned quickly between the displays and the human delegation. "Is this some kind of technical problem?" Admiral Chun finally spoke. Her voice was calm and clear. "No technical problem, Ambassador. The human species is withdrawing from all diplomatic relations with the Galaxy Council. This action is effective immediately." The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates began speaking, shouting, and making sounds of alarm in hundreds of different languages. The translation system struggled to keep up. Words like impossible, illegal, and rebellion filled the air. Ambassador Velinara of the Crystalline Dominion stood up. Her body was made of living crystal that rang like bells when she moved. "You cannot simply leave. The Galaxy Council has authority over all civilized species." "The Galaxy Council has the authority we gave it," Admiral Chun replied. "Today we take that authority back." Supreme Chancellor Morduk's voice boomed over the chaos. "Silence, Admiral Chun. You are speaking out of anger. Humans have been part of this council for 200 years. You cannot throw away centuries of progress over 1 vote." Admiral Chun smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Centuries of progress? Let me tell you about progress, Chancellor. 200 years ago, you invited us to join this council. You said we were equals. You said our voice would matter." She gestured to the darkening displays. "In those 200 years, humans have designed the quantum communication systems that let this council exist. We created the universal translation software that lets you all understand each other. We built the medical technologies that have saved billions of lives across the galaxy." The Admiral's voice grew stronger. "We developed the clean energy systems that power your worlds. We designed the navigation computers that make safe travel between stars possible. We even created the voting systems you just used to punish us." More displays went dark. Entire sectors of human space were now silent. "And what did we ask for in return?" Admiral Chun continued. "Fair treatment, equal representation, the right to develop our own systems without interference." She pointed at the Chancellor. "Instead, you give us 1 vote while the Zephyrian Federation gets 12. You assign us a junior status while species that joined after us sit on the High Council. You treat us like children who need constant guidance." Ambassador Kethver's feathers ruffled with nervousness. "Admiral, surely we can discuss this. The vote today was about mining rights in the Kepler sector. You were trying to claim systems that were clearly open territory." "Open territory?" Admiral Chun laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "We have had research stations in the Kepler sector for 50 years. We have been quietly exploring and mapping those systems while the rest of you argued about trade agreements. She pressed another button on her device. New information appeared. On the remaining displays, star charts, resource surveys, colony plans, all marked with human symbols. We found those systems. We explored them. We determined they were safe for colonization. But because we did not announce our presence with grand speeches and formal claims, you decided they were free for anyone to take. The chamber grew quiet again. Many delegates were seeing this information for the first time. The truth is, Admiral Chun said, humans have been quietly working behind the scenes for 2 centuries. We maintained your computers, fixed your problems, and improved your technologies. We did this because we believed in cooperation. We thought partnership meant working together. She looked around the chamber. Today you voted to punish us for trying to protect our own discoveries. You voted to give our hard work to others. You voted to remind us that we are not real partners, just useful servants. Supreme Chancellor Morduck's green skin had turned pale. Admiral, you are overreacting. These sanctions are temporary. They are meant to encourage negotiation, not... Chancellor, Admiral Chun interrupted. The time for negotiation is over. She pressed the final button on her device. The last human displays went dark. Every human colony, every human ship, every human station had gone silent. As of this moment, the human species no longer recognizes the authority of the Galaxy Council. We no longer accept your laws, your decisions, or your oversight. We will handle our own affairs from now on. The Admiral began walking toward the exit. The other human delegates followed her. Their footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. You cannot do this, shouted Chancellor Morduck. Without the Council, there will be chaos. The outer systems will. Rebel, the Void Hunters will attack. Admiral Chun stopped at the chamber door. She turned back one last time. Then you should have thought of that before you decided we were not worth listening to. The humans left. The great doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. For several minutes nobody moved, nobody spoke. The alien delegates stared at the dark displays and tried to understand what had just happened. Finally, Ambassador Kethver broke the silence. How many human-designed systems do we depend on? Nobody answered. Nobody wanted to think about the answer. In the distance, alarms began to sound. The first reports were already coming in. Human trade ships were turning around and heading home. Human technical advisors were leaving their posts. Human research facilities were shutting down. The Galaxy Council had just lost the species that held their civilization together, and they were only beginning to realize what that meant. 3 days had passed since the humans left the Great Assembly Chamber. 3 days of growing panic across the galaxy. Ambassador Kethver sat in his office on Council Station Alpha, staring at a wall of dark screens. Each screen should have shown bustling human colonies, busy trade routes, and active research stations. Instead, they showed nothing. Empty space where entire civilizations had simply vanished. His assistant, a young Zephyrian named Velka, rushed into the room. Her bright yellow feathers were ruffled with stress. Ambassador, we have received the daily reports from the outer sectors. Tell me, Kethver said, though he dreaded the answer. Sector 7 reports that all human merchant vessels have departed. The cargo they were carrying has been left at the nearest non-human stations. Sector 12 says the human mining operations have shut down completely. The workers just ... Velka's voice shook as she continued. Sector 19 reports that the human research facility has gone dark. When our ships approached to investigate, they found an automated message saying the base was closed permanently. Kethver closed his eyes. What about the communication networks? That is the worst news, sir. The quantum relay stations are still working, but they are running on backup systems. The human technicians who maintain them are gone. Our engineers estimate the networks will start failing within 2 weeks. The ambassador stood up and walked to his window. Outside, he could see the massive space station that served as the Galaxy Council's headquarters. Ships from hundreds of worlds moved back and forth between the docking bays, but something was wrong. The traffic was much lighter than usual. Velka, How many human-built systems are we using on this station alone? The young Zephyrian checked her tablet. According to the records, sir. The air recycling systems are human-designed. The gravity generators use human technology. The computer networks run on human software. The food synthesizers are based on human research. She paused, her voice getting smaller. Sir, even the toilets in the alien quarters were designed by humans to work for different biological systems. Kethver felt a cold fear in his chest. How had they not noticed? How had one species become so important to their daily lives without anyone realizing it? A communication alert sounded. The face of Ambassador Velinara appeared on the main screen. Her crystal body was flickering with stress patterns. Kethver, we need to talk. Are you seeing the same reports I am? If you mean reports of systems failing across the galaxy, then yes. It is worse than system failures, Velinara said. I just spoke with the military command. Our defense grids are operating at 60% efficiency. The targeting computers, the shield harmonics, the weapon coordination systems. They were all improved by human engineers over the years. Kethver sat down heavily. 60%, at best. Some of our older ships cannot even fire their main weapons properly. The software that controls the firing sequences was written by humans decades ago. Without updates and maintenance, the systems are degrading rapidly. Another face appeared on the screen. This time it was General Throken of the Granite Prime Defense Force. His rocky features looked more worried than Kethver had ever seen them. I hate to interrupt, the general said, but we have a bigger problem. Our scouts report that the Void Hunters are moving. They have launched raids on 3 outer systems in the past 2 days. The Void Hunters were the galaxy's nightmare. They were a collection of pirate fleets and rogue species that lived in the dark spaces between stars. For centuries, the Galaxy Council's military had kept them contained in the Outer Rim. How many ships? Velinara asked. At least 50 battle groups, maybe more. They seem to know our defenses are weakened. Kethver felt sick. How could they know already? Think about it, General Throken said grimly. The humans maintained the communication networks. They designed the security protocols. They probably knew our military capabilities better than we did. Are you suggesting the humans told the Void Hunters about our weaknesses? Velinara's crystal body flashed with anger. No, the general replied. I'm suggesting that the Void Hunters are smart enough to notice when the galaxy's most advanced species suddenly goes silent. They know something big has happened. Kethver pulled up a star map on his personal screen. Red warning markers were appearing across the outer rim. System after system was reporting problems, equipment failures, communication breakdowns, trade disruptions. This is not just about military systems, he said slowly. Look at these reports. Medical facilities on Kepler Prime are struggling because their diagnostic machines are not working properly. The water purification systems on New Zephyr are failing. The weather control satellites around Crystal Home are offline. He looked at his colleagues through the screen. The humans did not just leave, they took their knowledge with them. 200 years of improvements, innovations, and maintenance. Velka spoke up quietly. Sir, there is something else. I have been reviewing the trade records. In the past year, human merchant ships have been quietly moving large amounts of equipment and supplies. Things like medical devices, computer cores, and manufacturing tools. What are you saying? I think they planned this, sir. The humans have been preparing to leave for months, maybe longer. They moved important equipment to their own colonies. They stockpiled supplies. They trained their people to work without alien support. Kethver stared at her. But the vote yesterday, the sanctions, that was about mining rights in the Kepler sector. Maybe that was just the final excuse they needed, Velka suggested. Maybe they were already tired of being treated as junior partners. The communication screen chimed with an emergency signal. The face of Supreme Chancellor Morduk appeared, looking haggard and worried. All senior ambassadors report to the emergency. Session chamber immediately, he announced. We have a galaxy-wide crisis developing. The screen went dark. Kethver stood up and straightened his formal robes. As he headed for the door, Velka called after him. "Ambassador, what do you think the humans are doing right now?" Kethver paused. It was a good question. Where had they gone? What were they? Planning? For 2 centuries, humans had been everywhere in the galaxy, helping, building, improving things. Now they had simply vanished. I do not know, he admitted. But I suspect we are going to find out soon. As he walked through the corridors of Council Station Alpha, Kethver noticed things he had never seen before. Maintenance panels with human writing on them. Computer interfaces that looked human in design. Even the lighting system seemed to follow human preferences for broad-spectrum illumination. The humans had not just been participants in galactic civilization. They had been its foundation. And now that foundation was gone. In the emergency session chamber, hundreds of delegates were gathering. Their faces, tentacles, and sensor organs all showed the same expression: fear. The galaxy's most powerful species were discovering they were not as powerful as they thought. Outside the station, space looked the same as always. Stars shining in the darkness. Ships moving between worlds. But Kethver knew that everything had changed somewhere out there. The humans were watching, waiting, planning their next move, and the galaxy would have to learn to survive without them, or find a way to earn their return. Senior Counselor Threxon had called 17 emergency sessions in the past week. This 18th meeting felt different. The panic was no longer hidden behind formal words and diplomatic language. Fear filled the great assembly chamber like smoke. Threxon stood at the central podium, his 6 arms moving nervously as he spoke. His species, the hegemony of Krill, had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years before the council was formed. They were known for their calm wisdom and careful planning. Today, Threxon looked lost. The situation reports continue to worsen, he announced to the assembled delegates. We now have confirmed system failures in over 300 sectors. The cascade effect is accelerating. Ambassador Kethver looked around the chamber. Many seats were empty. Representatives from the Outer Rim systems had stopped coming to meetings. They were too busy dealing with emergencies at home. What is the current status of our military readiness? Asked General Throken from his position near the military section, Defense Minister Yextal. A slug-like being from the moisture worlds? Answered in a voice thick with slime and worry. Our fleet effectiveness has dropped to 45% and falling. We have lost contact with 12 patrol groups. The Void Hunters have taken control of 6 outer systems. A shocked silence filled the chamber. 6 systems lost in 1 week. How is that possible? Demanded Ambassador Velinara. Her crystal body was flashing angry red patterns. Our fleet is the largest in the galaxy. Size does not matter when half our ships cannot aim their weapons properly, General Throken replied grimly. The targeting computers were designed by human engineers 50 years ago. Without regular updates, they are becoming unreliable. He activated a holographic display showing the outer rim. Red zones marked areas under Void Hunter control. Yellow zones showed systems under attack. Green zones for safe areas were becoming very small. Yesterday, the battleship Eternal Glory engaged a Void Hunter fleet near the Spiral Nebula. Their main guns misfired 3 times during the battle. The crew had to evacuate in escape pods. Minister Yextal's voice became even more strained. We have similar reports from across the fleet. Shield generators running at reduced power. Navigation. Systems providing incorrect coordinates. Even the life support systems on some ships are failing. Threxon S-arms waved for attention. What about our civilian infrastructure? How bad is the damage there? The reports that followed painted a picture of growing disaster. Ambassador Felder of the agricultural world spoke first. Our food production systems are in crisis. The automated farming equipment on 17 worlds has stopped working. The genetic modification laboratories that create our hybrid crops cannot function without human-designed computer systems. His shell-like head drooped with exhaustion. We estimate food shortages will begin within 2 months if we cannot restore the systems. Ambassador Quilton of the Medical Consortium was next. Her energy being form flickered weakly as she spoke. Medical facilities across the galaxy are struggling. The diagnostic machines that detect diseases in alien biology were calibrated by human doctors over many decades. Without their expertise, we cannot properly treat patients from different species. She paused, her light dimming further. Yesterday, a crystalline child died on Medical Station 7 because the treatment computers could not determine the correct medicine dosage for their biology. The human doctor who programmed those computers left 3 days ago. The chamber grew very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The humans had not just built machines and written software. They had learned to care for every species in the galaxy. How did we not see this? Whispered Ambassador Kethver. Threxon's voice was bitter, because we did not want to see it. We told ourselves the humans were junior partners. We believed they were learning from us. He activated another display, this one showing historical records. I have been reviewing the archives from the past 2 centuries. Do you want to know what I found? The display showed innovation records, patent filings, and research publications. Graph after graph showed the same pattern. Human contributions to galactic technology had been growing steadily for decades. In the past 50 years, 70% of all major technological improvements came from human research. They improved our engines, our computers, our medical systems, our communication networks. Threxon's voice grew stronger with anger. And what did we give them in return? 1 vote in a council of 800. Junior status in all committees. The constant reminder that they were the newest and least important members. Ambassador Velinara's crystal body stopped flashing. You are saying we have been fools. I am saying we have been worse than fools. We have been ungrateful. A new alarm sounded through the chamber. An aide rushed to Threxon's side and whispered urgently in his ear. The senior counselor's face went pale. I have just received word that the Zephyrian home system is under direct attack. A massive Void Hunter fleet has broken through our outer defenses. General Throken stood up quickly. How massive? Over 200 ships, more than we have seen in one place for decades. The general's rocky face cracked with worry. Our nearest response fleet has only 60 ships, and half of those have weapons. Problems? Send them anyway, ordered Threxon. And call for reinforcements from every available system. As military personnel rushed from the chamber, Threxon turned back to the remaining delegates. We need to discuss the real question. How do we contact the humans? Contact them? Ambassador Velinara sounded surprised. They severed all diplomatic relations. They told us to handle our own affairs. Then we need to change their minds, Threxon replied. The galaxy is falling apart. In 6 months, maybe less, there will be no Galaxy Council left to govern anything. Ambassador Kethver had been thinking about this problem for days. Senior Counselor, I have been reviewing the human departure. They did not just leave randomly, they planned this carefully. He stood and activated his own display. Look at these patterns. Human merchant ships spent months moving equipment to their home systems. Human technical personnel submitted resignation letters weeks before the vote on Kepler sector. Human research stations began classified projects 6 months ago. The implications hit the chamber like a physical blow. They knew this was coming, breathed Ambassador Felder. They prepared for it. More than that, Kethver continued. They wanted it to happen. The vote on mining rights was not the cause of their departure. It was the excuse they were waiting for. Threxon sat down heavily in his chair. Why? What did we do to drive them away? We treated them like children for 200 years, Ambassador Velinara said quietly. Her crystal body had turned a sad blue color. We gave them responsibility without authority. We asked them to solve our problems, but ignored their opinions about solutions. She gestured around the nearly empty chamber. They became essential to our civilization, but we never let them become equal partners. An aide approached Threxon with another urgent message. After reading it, the senior counselor looked even more worried. The attack on the Zephyrian system has been repelled, but our losses were heavy. We lost 12 ships, the Void Hunters lost only 3. He looked around the chamber. At this rate, they will control the entire outer rim within a month. What do you propose? Asked General Throkenen. Threxen was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke words that no Galaxy Council leader had ever said before. I propose we surrender. The chamber erupted in shocked voices, but Threxen continued. Not to the Void Hunters. To reality. We cannot maintain galactic civilization without the humans. We cannot protect our worlds without their technology. We cannot even keep our people alive without their knowledge. He stood up slowly. I propose we formally dissolve the current Galaxy Council structure and invite the humans to negotiate a new arrangement. As equals, the silence that followed was different from the earlier fear. This was the silence of beings who finally understood. The truth, they had lost more than a member species. They had lost the foundation of their entire way of life, and getting it back would require admitting they had been wrong about everything. Captain Zixra had never been so frustrated in her 30 years of military service. Her scout ship, the Swift Arrow, was supposed to be the fastest and most advanced vessel in the Galaxy Council fleet. Today, it felt like a broken toy floating through space. Navigation computers are giving us wrong coordinates again, reported her pilot, Lieutenant Vexan. His blue skin showed stress patterns that marked him as deeply worried. We have drifted 2 million kilometers off course in the past hour. Use manual navigation, Zixra ordered. Plot a course for the Kepler sector using star charts. Captain, the star charts are stored in the computer systems. The same systems that are malfunctioning. Zixra closed her 4 eyes and counted to 10. The Swift Arrow was on a critical mission. 3 weeks had passed since Senior Counselor Threxen authorized covert operations to locate human settlements. So far, every attempt had failed. Engineering, what is the status of our stealth systems? The voice of Chief Engineer Moltar crackled. Through the communication system, the stealth field is operating at 30% efficiency, Captain. The human-designed stealth algorithms are degrading without proper maintenance updates. This was the 5th scout mission Zixra had led into what used to be human space. The first 4 had found nothing. Empty space where human colonies should have been. Silent communication beacons? Abandoned research stations, but this time was different. Intelligence reports suggested there might still be human activity in the Kepler system. The same system that had caused the diplomatic crisis 4 weeks ago. Captain, called Sensor Officer Kylan from her station. I am detecting something unusual in the Kepler system. There are energy readings that do not match our records. Zixra moved to the sensor station. Show me. The holographic display revealed the Kepler system as they had never seen it before. What their old record showed as empty space was now filled with structures. Massive space stations orbited planets that were supposed to be uninhabited. Mining operations that looked decades more advanced than anything the Council possessed. How long have these installations been here? Zixra asked. Based on the energy signatures, Captain? At least 20 years, maybe longer. Zixra felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. 20 years, but our surveys of this system showed nothing. Lieutenant Vexan spoke up quietly. Captain, who conducted those surveys? The answer came to her immediately. Human survey teams, human scientists, human engineers who reported back to the Council about what they found in unexplored systems. They have been lying to us for decades, she whispered. Captain, we are receiving a transmission. The main screen activated, showing the image of a human in a military uniform. He looked young, maybe 30 years old, with short brown hair and calm brown eyes. Behind him, Zixra could see what appeared to be a very advanced control room. This is Commander Jackson of Kepler Station 3. You are entering restricted human space. Please state your business. Zixra tried to compose herself. Commander, I am Captain Zixra of the Galaxy Council Reconnaissance Fleet. We are conducting a diplomatic mission to re-establish contact with human leadership. Commander Jackson smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. Captain, the humans no longer recognize Galaxy Council authority. You are trespassing in sovereign human territory. Sovereign territory? Zixra could not hide her shock. Commander, this system was classified as open space by Council surveys. Council surveys conducted by human teams, Captain. Teams that were working under human military command, not Council oversight. The implications hit Zixra like a physical blow. How many systems? How many systems what, Captain? How many systems that the Council thinks are empty are actually under human control? Commander Jackson's smile became wider. That would be classified information, Captain. But I can tell you that humans have been conducting independent exploration and colonization for over 50 years. Behind the commander, other humans moved around the control room. Zixra noticed their equipment looked far more advanced than anything on her ship. The displays were clearer, the interfaces more sophisticated, the technology decades ahead of Council standards. Commander, we need to speak with Admiral Chun or other human leadership. The galaxy is facing a crisis. We are aware of the crisis. Captain, we are also aware that it was entirely predictable. Lieutenant Vexan leaned over to Zixra and whispered urgently. Captain, our sensors are detecting multiple ships approaching our position. What kind of ships? Unknown design. They are not in our identification database. Commander Jackson seemed to hear this conversation through their open communication channel. Captain, those are human patrol vessels. Your ship is damaged and operating with degraded systems. For your safety, we are providing an escort to the edge of human space. An escort? Zixra's voice rose in alarm. Commander, we are on a peaceful mission, and you will remain safe as long as you follow our instructions. Please follow the escort ships to the system boundary. 3 ships appeared on the tactical display. They had moved into position so quickly that Zixra's sensors had barely detected them. The ships were sleek, dark, and completely silent. They moved with a grace that made her own vessel look clumsy. Captain, whispered Sensor Officer Kylan, these ships, they are using technology I have never seen before. Their engines produce almost no detectable signature. Their hull materials seem to absorb our sensor beams. How advanced are they? At least 50 years ahead of our best ships. Maybe more. Zixra looked back at Commander Jackson on the screen. Commander, how long have humans possessed this level of technology? Long enough, Captain. We shared our basic technologies with the Council for 2 centuries. The advanced versions, those we kept for ourselves. Why? Commander Jackson's expression became serious. Because we learned early that sharing everything with the Council was a mistake. You took our gifts and treated us like children. You used our innovations and denied us equal voice in how they were used. The escort ships began moving, clearly expecting the swift arrow to follow. So you developed a secret civilization parallel to the public one, Zixra said, understanding beginning to dawn. We developed the civilization we needed to survive and grow, Captain. The Council version of humanity was what we allowed you to see. The real humanity has been preparing for independence for decades. Zixra looked around her bridge at her struggling crew and failing systems. The mining rights dispute in Kepler sector. That was never about empty space, was it? The Council voted to give away systems we had already colonized, Captain. Systems we had been developing for years. You were going to hand our colonies to other species and call it justice. But the surveys said these systems were empty. The survey said what we reported, Captain. We were not going to reveal our strategic positions to a government that treated us as second-class citizens. The escort ships had moved into a formation around the swift arrow. Zixra realized she had no choice but to follow their guidance. Commander, what happens now? Will humans negotiate with the Council? That depends on whether the Council is willing to negotiate as equals instead of trying to dictate terms to a supposedly inferior species. The Council is willing, Zixra said quickly. The crisis has made everyone realize how important humans are to galactic civilization. Commander Jackson was quiet for a moment. Captain, the crisis was not an accident, it was a demonstration. We wanted the galaxy to understand what happens when humans are not involved in maintaining civilization. You planned the collapse? We planned our withdrawal. The collapse was the predictable result of the galaxy's dependence on human expertise. Zixra felt overwhelmed by the scale of what she was learning. How many humans are there really? How big is your real civilization? Much bigger than the Council ever knew, Captain, and much more advanced. The escort ships guided the swift Arrow to the edge of the Kepler system. As they traveled, Zixra's sensors detected more and more human installations. Orbital stations, mining facilities, research outposts, even what looked like military bases. Captain, Commander Jackson said as they reached the system boundary, you will take a message back to the Council. Humanity is no longer interested in being junior partners in galactic civilization. We are prepared to be senior partners, or we will continue to operate independently. What does that mean? It means the Council has two choices: dissolve itself and allow humanity to lead the creation of a new, more equitable galactic government, or continue struggling to maintain order while we build our own civilization. The escort ship stopped at an invisible line marking human territory. Commander Jackson's image prepared to fade from the screen. Wait, Zixra called. The Void Hunters. They are conquering outer rim systems. People are dying. Commander Jackson paused. We are aware of the Void Hunter situation, Captain. That will be addressed soon. By who? By the people who actually have the military technology to stop them. The transmission ended. The human escort ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared. Fading into the darkness like ghosts, Zixra stared at the empty space where they had been. Her ship limped away from human territory with its failing systems and overwhelmed crew. She was bringing back more than a message to the Council. She was bringing back the truth about humanity's real power. The galaxy was about to change forever. 6 months had passed since Admiral Chun walked out of the Great Assembly Chamber. 6 months of chaos, system failures, and growing terror across the galaxy. Today, the remaining members of the Galaxy Council gathered for what everyone knew would be their final meeting. Ambassador Kethfer looked around the once mighty chamber. Where 5,000 delegates used to sit, fewer than 800 remained. The Outer Rim systems had stopped sending representatives weeks ago. Some had fallen to the Void Hunters. Others had simply declared independence when the Council could no longer protect them. Supreme Chancellor Morduk stood at the central podium, but he no longer looked like the powerful leader who had voted to sanction humanity. His green skin was pale and sickly. His forearms shook with exhaustion. The weight of galactic collapse had broken him. Fellow delegates, he began, his voice barely carrying across the mostly empty chamber, we have reached the end. No one protested. No one demanded optimism or spoke of hope. They all knew the truth. 47 systems have fallen to the Void Hunters. 63 systems have declared independence. Our remaining military forces are scattered and ineffective. Our civilian infrastructure is failing across all sectors. The Chancellor paused, looking at the few faces still present. We have received one final communication from the human leadership. I will play it now. The main display activated, showing not Admiral Chun, but a man none of them recognized. He appeared to be in his 50s, with gray hair and steady blue eyes. Behind him stood what looked like a military command center filled with advanced technology. Greetings to the Galaxy Council, the man said. His voice was calm and professional. I am Director Harrison of the Human Collective Defense Initiative. For the past 6 months, we have watched the galaxy struggle with problems that were entirely predictable. Director. Harrison gestured to someone off-screen. A tactical display appeared, showing the current state of the galaxy. Red zones marked Void Hunter territory. Yellow zones showed systems in rebellion. The small green areas representing Council control looked pathetically small. The Galaxy Council has 7 days to formally dissolve itself and transfer all governmental authority to a new organization. This new organization will be led by humanity, with full representation for all species that choose to participate as equals. Ambassador Velinara's crystal body flashed with angry red patterns. Led by humanity? Who gave you the right to make demands? Director Harrison smiled slightly. The same right you claimed when you formed the Galaxy Council 3,000 years ago, the right of the strong to protect the weak. You are threatening us, accused General Throken. No, General, we are offering to save you. The director gestured again, and the display changed. It now showed something that made every delegate gasp in shock. Thousands of ships were moving through space in perfect formation. The ships were enormous, sleek, and clearly far more advanced than anything the Council had ever built. For the past 5 decades, humanity has been building the fleet you see before you. We have also been developing the technology, training the personnel, and establishing the infrastructure necessary to maintain galactic order. Ambassador Kethver found his voice. How many ships? Currently deployed? 12,000 battle cruisers, 35,000 support vessels, and over 200 mobile command bases. The numbers were impossible. The entire Galaxy Council fleet at its peak had numbered less than 8,000 ships. Where did you build them? Whispered Chancellor Morduk. In the systems you thought were empty, Chancellor. While you were arguing about trade agreements and territorial disputes, we were constructing shipyards in deep space. While you were holding votes about mining rights, we were training crews and developing tactics. Director Harrison's expression became more serious. We estimate that it will take approximately 18 months to restore order to the galaxy. The Void Hunters will be eliminated within 6 months. The rebellious systems will be given the choice to rejoin galactic civilization or remain isolated. Critical infrastructure will be rebuilt using human technology and maintained by human engineers. And what happens to us? Asked Ambassador Velinara. That depends on your choice. Species that accept the new order will be given full representation in the human collective. Your planets will be protected, your trade routes secured, your people free to live and grow. The director paused. Species that refuse to accept human leadership will be left to manage their own affairs. Without human technology, without human protection, without human assistance. General Throken stood up angrily. This is conquest. You are destroying the Galaxy Council to build your own empire. General, the Galaxy Council destroyed itself. We are simply offering to clean up the mess. The display changed again, showing detailed images of the Void Hunter fleets. But something was wrong with the images. The fearsome raider ships looked damaged, scattered, fleeing. I should mention that we have already begun operations against the Void Hunters. In the past 72 hours, we have eliminated 40% of their fleet strength and liberated 17 systems. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. 40% of the Void Hunter fleet? In 3 days? How? Demanded General Throken. Superior technology, superior tactics, and superior numbers, General. The Void Hunters expected to face broken Council forces using degraded equipment. Instead, they encountered the full power of human military science. Director Harrison looked directly at the camera. The age of the Galaxy Council is over. The age of human leadership has begun. You have 7 days to accept this reality. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Finally, Senior Counselor Threxon spoke. How did we not see this coming? Because we saw what we wanted to see, replied Ambassador Kethver bitterly. We saw humans as helpful junior partners, not as a species building their own civilization right under our noses. For 50 years, they shared just enough technology to keep us dependent, added Ambassador Velinara. They made themselves essential. While hiding their true capabilities, Chancellor Morduk sat down heavily in his chair. What choice do we have? Our military is broken. Our infrastructure is failing. Our people are dying. We could fight, suggested General Throken, but his voice lacked conviction. With what? Threxon laughed bitterly. 12,000 human battle cruisers against our 300 working ships? They would destroy us without breaking formation. Ambassador Kethver stood up slowly. There is something we need to understand. The humans did not do this out of hatred or greed. They did it because we forced them to. He looked around the chamber. For 2 centuries, we gave them responsibility without authority. We asked them to solve our problems while ignoring their voices. We used their gifts while denying them respect. Are you defending them? Asked Chancellor Morduk. I am stating facts, Chancellor. We created this situation by treating our most valuable allies as servants instead of partners. The chamber fell quiet again. Outside the station, space looked peaceful, but everyone knew that human fleets were out there, reshaping the galaxy according to their own vision. What kind of leaders will they be? Asked Ambassador Velinara quietly. Better than us, Threxen replied. They have proven they can build, maintain, and protect galactic civilization. We have proven we cannot. Chancellor Morduk activated his communication system. Attention all remaining council members. I am calling for a final vote. The motion is to formally dissolve the Galaxy Council and transfer all authority to the Human Collective Defense Initiative. The voting was swift and unanimous. 837 votes in favor. 0 votes against. As the results appeared on the display, Ambassador Kethver felt a strange sense of relief. The burden of governing a galaxy they had proven incapable of protecting was finally lifted from their shoulders. What happens to us now? Asked Ambassador Velinara. Now we learn to be citizens instead of rulers, Kethver replied. We learn to follow instead of lead. We learn to accept that humanity has become what we never could. Through the chambers, windows. The first human ships were already approaching Council Station Alpha. They moved with purpose and confidence, ready to begin the work of rebuilding galactic civilization. The age of the Galaxy Council was ending. The age of human dominance had begun, and deep in his heart, Ambassador Kethver knew that the galaxy would be safer, stronger, and more just under human leadership than it had ever been under the Council's rule. The humans had not conquered the galaxy. They had inherited it, and they had earned that inheritance through 2 centuries of patience, service, and quiet preparation for the day when the galaxy would need real leadership. That day had finally come.